And today we don't have that many people, 3 or 4. But let's see how long the
I think
discussion
you can
goes.
address the most pressing questions up front, which
Yeah,
is the
which is
HFT board and
where is the
momentum EA.
HFT? Okay, I'll just start with that then. So the HFT EA, guys, I'm gonna try and find some time next week to look at it. I know I have said this before as well, but the general idea was, I mean, it's a friend of mine who shared it with me, so I shared it with everybody because everybody always says that, look, whatever you find interesting, share with us. We want to try it with you. So yeah, let's try together then, because otherwise the feeling that I get is, well, don't share until it's fully ready. So I have two options: either I can share as and how I find it, or it goes through my normal regular process of testing, which can take any time between 6 and 8 months before I can share something. So I'll leave the decision up to you guys. But in any case, even if there are like 5 people who actually want to code it and actually want me to share the stuff that I find interesting, then I'll share it in the videos. And don't go to the store to download it. I say it very, very clearly in the beginning of the video that this is something that I have just found. This is something that I haven't tested. This is something that I have no idea how it's going to pan out. I'll probably be looking at it and trying to figure out ways to make it work. But I'm a human after all. I'm not claiming to be Moses. I'm not going to lead you to the promised land. I don't turn water into wine. I have never risen anybody from the dead. So this is for the EA as well. It's like, yeah, I'll give it my honest best try when I can find some time to look at it and try it. I tried it a couple of times, and in one of the demos it worked. In the second one it didn't. And I have no clue why it didn't work the second time and why it worked the first time. So at some point in time I'm going to get to it. But until then, I mean, and also I'm seeing some comments about the DeepSeek EA as well, when the SAR based, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, and again, this makes me dubious as well. Like, should I share it? Should I not share it? Because the moment I will share it, I don't know how it's going to do. I mean, the backtest looks amazing, but every backtest looks amazing. I mean, I've made trillions of dollars in backtest, but I'm still sitting here in this chair speaking with you guys. Which basically goes to say that backtest is one thing and the real markets are another. So when I will share that SAR DeepSeek EA, which I fully intend to share, but it's still in the back of my head, I have that question now, which is like, should I share it? Because the moment I share it, if I start to receive 50,000 emails every day saying, well, what is the best setting? Why is it not working? Why there was a loss today? Why is it not making profit? I don't know. The other alternative for me is to not share stuff until I'm fully comfortable with it. I mean, much like the momentum year, it's been 2.5 months, and there I get messages like, yeah, I mean, he's never gonna share it, but no, I will. But that one is gonna bear my name because that is something that I have written myself. So that one I definitely want to be comfortable before I share the course. But for the rest of the stuff, I mean, I find a lot of good stuff, which is interesting. I try a lot of new ideas, which when I see the idea panning out and it looks interesting, in the back of my head, I have the question. I was like, yeah, I should share it. Like, why keep it? But then on the other hand, if the general expectation is that anything that you see on the channel should work 100% of the time, should work day in, day out, make everybody a millionaire, and no, it's not gonna. I mean, I don't know which ones are gonna work and which ones not. The ones
And I
that
think, Dyson, you've been very transparent in terms of all the videos that I've shared, that you've shared as well, in terms of like which EAs are your own EAs, which EAs that say you got from your friends, etc., and what to expect in terms of each EA that you shared. Like if you're sharing an EA and you've told everyone that, hey, this is an EA that you have tested, then yeah, there can be that expectation. But in terms of those EAs where you tested, where you shared the EA and you said that, hey, I'm testing it at the moment and feel free to test it with me, then I think you've been very transparent in those terms. So yeah, just wanted to add a couple of points to what you were already saying.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing about me being transparent or not being transparent and I don't know, fooling people or not, but that's just one part. I mean, that I can live with. What makes it difficult for me is the fact that I know people rush to download stuff without fully understanding what is it that they are downloading, and I don't want people to lose or waste their money. So if you find the idea interesting, sit down and write the codes. I mean, they are all there. I mean, it's a 1 hour long video. How hard can it be to copy paste, not copy paste, but type it from the video, and you will learn something from the process as well. But then if you don't find it interesting, then you don't find it interesting. It's okay. It's like, yeah, I mean, I find it interesting, and I find it interesting to share as well. And then if you don't want to code it and you want to go to store, please do listen to the videos and understand before you make the decision to go ahead and download stuff. And because I think a lot of people go to the store and download stuff under the wrong assumption. And that's what bothers me, which is I don't know how to say it. Everything I have, everything I know, I will share it. But then I cannot say how it's going to work. For some things, I can share my own experience. Say for scalping, yeah, I've used it for 4.5 years. So I have some opinions about it, which I can share. RSI Bollinger has been with me for 3.5 years. Time range has been with me for God knows how many years. And the other years that I will share, which are my own creation, and I have used them for a long period of time, those ones I can tell you that this is what I have seen. So this is what you can use as a reference. The other stuff which I'm developing or trying out right now myself, one, I'm not gonna be able to, it's like, yeah, because I have shared it, so now I have to try it and I have to test it and I have to update it. No, I shared it because you guys can also test it with me. And that was the entire premise. Otherwise, I can stop. So yeah, I'll get to HFT EA when I will get to HFT EA. I cannot put a date on it. Same goes for the SAR EA with DeepSeek. I mean, I found it very interesting in the last 2-3 months of me trying DeepSeek, that it can actually spew out codes if you can tell it your logic. I mean, not 100% accurately, but at least it gives you a very good sketch to work upon. And this SAR EA, I came up with an idea. I started speaking with DeepSeek, and eventually it ended up with a full-blown file of code, which when I ran the backtest, the idea or the initial results looked at least interesting enough to take it further and investigate more. And that's where I had the ideas like, okay, well, I mean, this is something which is interesting. Maybe it will inspire a few people to go have their ideas tested with DeepSeek and work on stuff. But there is a rush to, it's like, yeah, where is the code file? Where can I download it? It's like, yeah, fine, go ahead. I'll share it. I'll put it in the store as well, but download it at your own peril. I don't know how it will work. Zero idea. I'll make it very clear in the descriptions as well, but unfortunately people don't read. I don't know how to get around this.
No, and I think you've been saying that in every single call as well. Every single call that we have, it's sort of like some of the same stuff gets repeatedly said. And plus the fact that, just because someone has downloaded an EA, which you said in the initial video that you're trying it out, and then expect whatever, like whichever. So there are only two options that you said. Either you cannot share an EA until you fully finalized it, in which case it may or may not even get finalized, or you can share it and people can test it with you, which was the intention. Yeah, but I think, Baijan, there are a lot of other questions in the chat as well. Maybe I can ask you directly.
Because I mean, today we don't have that many people in the call, so maybe what we can do is we can take the question and answers from the YouTube.
I think one question primarily, which actually I don't understand, is regarding the main scalping EA as well, because I think we've been sharing the results as well. It's been 6 months since it has been doing very well on forward testing as well. But there are some comments about it not doing so well or not performing, or even the backtest results not showing the results that you showed in the video, which obviously maybe there was some error in the settings, etc. But maybe feel free to elaborate on that.
Okay, I mean, I'm trying to find the comment. I mean, can you read the comment?
Yeah, I can read the comment. Just give me a second. We can understand about HFT, but why your scalping bot EA does not work in live market? Please answer.
Okay. Look,
Please answer.
yeah, please answer. Look, I don't know. I mean, in the same breath that there are some comments, and I've seen it in under the video as well, which is like for some people, they struggle with it. But then on the same comment section, there are probably like 100 people who have commented about how it is working. Now, I've done some live broadcast of my own setup, which I started from Gen. I mean, normally I use it in my own portfolio, but just to be able to answer questions and show stuff, I started something in Gen, and I've been live broadcasting it. And I mean, June has been a tough month. But that I mean, anybody should expect it. I mean, there is a war going on. There is a nuclear holocaust, which is probably, like likely. Then one of the warring nation is part of OPEC, so there is impact on oil. The amount of uncertainty during this period, it like, okay, well, and the scalping year in June in my account, which I'm using to broadcast, has made, I think, 4.5% loss this month so far. It has started very well. It was going up to probably like 4-5%. It looked like a good month, like 6th good month in consecutive, which has never happened before. I mean, normally I would expect scalping year to have 2 good months and then 1 not so good month. But for the last 5 months, it has been making money every month. June, it has started well, but now during the last 10 days, it is, and which I would expect also. I mean, I should probably turn it off, honestly speaking, given how things are piling up. And not just the scalping year, even for the entire portfolio. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days, because if this conflict between these Middle Eastern nations, if it starts to pick up and if the US is also jumping in, I would be very hesitant to trade and maybe give it a break until things settle down a little. Now, that said, one is there, I've shared, I mean, now under the scalping EA, I have on every one of the video in description, I have shared the settings that I'm using, because there were lots of people who want set files. Initially, I didn't want to share set files, because then what's the point of the channel? I mean, it's not MQL marketplace. I'm not selling EAs. My idea is to inspire to work, inspire to try, inspire to find passion, to find new ideas, and even with the same tools to try it different ways. Me sending set files basically kills the entire idea of anybody wanting to try anything new. But eventually, fine, now they're in the description. Every one of the video has in the description the set files. So you can apply exactly the same settings that I'm using. And if I change it, I'll update. Then comes the second part, which is the broker. EA is one side of the coin. The second side is the broker. If you are using it on any broker, which on a standard account has more than 1 pip of a spread, it's not going to work. My own account has somewhere between 0.6 and 0.8 pip spread. You can see it in the live broadcast as well, what my spreads are on IC market. But anything above 1.1, 1.2 pip on Euro USD, GBP USD, and USD JPY is going to struggle, because you're paying more money to the broker. So it might be making money, but you're giving away the money to the broker and not keeping it yourself. And the third thing which I've noticed with so many people sharing their stuff with me and then figuring out with them what has gone wrong, is that people are applying it on currencies which are other than USD JPY, GBP USD, and Euro USD. Now, in every one of the videos on scalping EA, I am saying repeatedly that the EA requires one, currency pairs which have strong momentums normally. So if you apply it on CHF, if you apply it on Australian dollar, if you apply it on New Zealand dollar, or I don't know, what's the last one? It's those ones zigzag a lot. And anything that zigzags is a killer for this EA, because it will take your trade and go back to hit the stop loss before moving in the same direction again. So avoid the currency pairs which have zigzags, avoid news, avoid chaotic times, and have good spreads. And if one or two of those elements are not in place, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I mean, no EA is a magic pill. You cannot just, okay, well, you cannot take a city bike into the mountains and then blame the city bike for not being good. So a lot of people are using it. I mean, if you have joined the members area, you can see in the Scalping EA channel, in the Scalping EA prop firm channel, there is like on daily basis, there are tons of people who share their screenshots. And up until last week, it had been performing extremely well for everybody. I mean, this week has been a tough week. And I don't know about the next week. If the war starts to escalate, I would be half tempted to shut down the entire portfolio. So it's not just this year. Trading is a bad idea in this situation then. I hope that I answered that question.
Yeah, I think you were very elaborate in terms of your explanation. I think one thing that I want to add is compared to the previous years, like these 5-6 months, even though the year itself has done really well if you look at the whole 6 month period, but even the whole 6 month period has been very chaotic with Donald Trump coming into power and then all the tariffs, etc. And it's just quite impressive that the EA has still managed to perform that well during the 6 month period. And I think you've been constantly saying in these calls as well that it's not just about set it and forget it style of trading. You have to be vigilant of what's happening in the market. And I think there was this last time that you asked everyone to sort of like turn down the settings a bit on the EA as well, if I remember correctly.
Somewhere in February, March.
Yeah. And actually after that,
because back then I was using the number of bars to determine highs and lows as 5 because I was aggressive during the time between Jan and Feb, because markets, at least to me, and also, I mean, look, my settings are not golden settings either. They're like, yeah, that's just my settings. That's just how I read the market and how I want to play in the market. But since March, I think the markets have slowed down because nothing new has been happening until now that this new war is starting. Which can also be, it's like the only thing you need to avoid is the beginning of the situation where things are chaotic and uncertain. But let's suppose, I mean, if something really happens and say if USD takes a hike and JPY goes down, yeah, well, turn on the EA and even go back to aggressive mode, because as soon as it starts to go in one direction, the EA is going to do very well. During the uncertain times, the market goes up and then goes down and then goes up and then goes down. That's a bad period for any trading strategy, unless it's a range-based strategy. But then again, guys, at the end of the day, look, I don't like it. What can I do? It's like, this is what I have. This is what I use. And I share it. Now, I mean...
in terms of broker, I see some comments about, do you have any preference? Do you want to share, or is it like you want to...
Guys, I'm normally very hesitant to recommend stuff. I mean, a lot of people send me emails. A lot of people write comments about which EA will I recommend. It's like none. Zero. I don't know. It's like, how can I say this EA is better than that one? I mean, I can only say, yeah, this EA has done well for me. Now, I can give the same hammer to 15 people. 14 of them might drive the nail into the wall and one will end up with a sore thumb. Now, is it the hammer? And also, I mean...
No, but I think you've given that guideline, right? That if, let's say, it's less than one spread on key pairs, then any broker you can go and check.
Yeah, but wait, still, even on the... okay, fine. Related to this answer, yes, any broker, no commission account. On no commission account, if a broker is offering you anything between, and let's take Euro USD as a reference point. If you can find a broker that's giving you between 0.6 pips, 0.6 to 0.9 pips on Euro USD, that I would imagine is a decent broker. But then there is the slippage and execution delays and VPS and your connection and ping times and all of that play a role. So it's not just single faceted. It's like, yeah, the EA doesn't work. No, well, there are 15 different things that come together for something to work. Now I can put it on a really bad VPS. Is it the fault of the EA then? or I can put it on a really bad broker, which is charging me, I don't know, like 2 pip per trade. Well, with the way that the EA is, which is based on aggressive trailing, and a very high win rate is really required. And also, I mean, the number of trades are many, so you're making the broker rich then. The ones that I know from the member section, where people have shared that this has worked and this works well, is XNS Pro account, and not the standard XNS account. That one is shit. But the XNS Pro account, I use it on IC Market. I haven't used it on Pepperstone, but I believe that Pepperstone is as good as IC Market, if not better. Maybe they are even better. So these are the ones I know. I'm not an expert on brokers. I know that I use IC Markets and I have never had a problem with them. So I've never had to look, I've never had to change. And also my AUM is on IC Market, so I cannot change accounts that easily. But once again, guys, I'm not the guru. I'm not the messiah. I just share what I know from my own experience. So from my own experience, yeah, I know IC Markets is good. I know Pepperstone is good. And I'm hearing that XNS Pro account is decent as well. And that I'm saying because a lot of people out of India do not have access to IC Markets and Pepperstone that easily. And XNS is available there.
Yeah, someone posted in the comments as well. The next maybe overwhelmingly asked question is regarding that DeepSeek video that you've posted, and one person has said that they are having some difficulty following the same logic, like giving prompts to DeepSeek and like getting it to work. I think one thing that you shared in the video as well was the fact that it's not just DeepSeek writing the strategy, it has to be your own strategy. DeepSeek can help you code it, but then they're asking if there's a prototype or something, or a framework. I can also give some part of this answer maybe later, Baijan, after you've gone through, because there's some stuff on LLM and generative AI in which I can fill in. But yeah, you go ahead first and then I will add that bit.
No, look, my entire idea or the inspiration behind that DeepSeek video, the SAR was, it's like I had an idea while I was taking a shower on, well, I want to look at something which if the momentum changes, then if I can capture it. And that goes back to a challenge that Vajad put in front of me back somewhere in Jan this year, which is all of my years are trend-based or range-based or whatever, but nothing, I have never written anything which is news or quick movement related, because I avoid it like a plague. So those ideas keep popping in my head. So I had that idea. I sat down with DeepSeek, and I hadn't tried DeepSeek up until 3 months ago. I had tried ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is shit. But then, and this is why I had the impression that yeah, AI is not at that level yet. But when I tried DeepSeek for something, and I was quite surprised at what DeepSeek can do. So then I wanted to test the ideas, like, look, if I only have an idea in my head, a clear idea in my head, can I get DeepSeek to act as a coder for me? And how well it can structure the coding if I have an idea. But I still have to have an idea. I mean, this is why I start the video with, all right, DeepSeek, let's write me an EA which always makes money. And that was the sarcasm or the funny take on, like, you cannot tell the DeepSeek to just give you a money printing machine. The idea is still, I mean, at least for the next 5 years, humans are still better in thinking than the AI. I'm actually afraid of the day when AI is better at thinking and creating stuff than the humans, because then we are not needed. And when we're not needed, we all know what happens. But in general sense, the entire video, what I was trying, because a lot of people are trying to pause the video and take the codes from it. It's like, wait another week, I'll share all the codes that I got from DeepSeek. And also the prompts. It's like, yeah, if I had gone and made the video of exactly how it went, it would have been an extremely boring video. So some of the prompts, but some of the prompts are, I've said them instead of typing them on the screen. some of the, and then also, I mean, as you can see, I think I showed it in the video as well with a time lapse portion where I told the DeepSeek to shut up and let the master work on the thing because I was cleaning up and I had to clean up a lot of stuff as well. But eventually I was extremely surprised by the fact that my ideas, I don't have to code them myself. I can get 90% of the coding by DeepSeek. But DeepSeek does get it wrong a little bit here and there. Does give a few errors, but sometimes also doesn't fully pick up the logic because it's my logic, so it's in my head. Maybe I'm not good enough to communicate it to DeepSeek that well. So those portions I had to tweak a little bit, if you will. But I'll share the codes and then you can look at the video back again to see what were the prompts and how did the code turn out to be in the end and see, well, how much you can get out of DeepSeek. But
Yeah, and I think one thing, Faizan, you mentioned. Yeah, go ahead, finish what you're
But
saying.
one thing I will again emphasize is like, look, guys, I mean, if you're approaching my videos or the channel that I have as, well, here we will find the perfect EAs that will always make money, then you are in the wrong place. Even I don't know if this SAR EA is actually going to work. I have no idea. I mean, the idea was decent. DeepSeek surprised me with coding it. So I shared that part. Well, look, I mean, there is this amazing tool which you can use. I'm going to use it from now on for all my ideas. It makes my life very easy. What used to take me 6-7 days to sit down and write in codes, now I can get it from DeepSeek with a few prompts in probably like 4 hours. So that's the entire idea for that. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, from my own experience, if I have 10 ideas, 1 of them work, 9 of them go in the bin. It's a 90% loss rate.
Yeah, and I think Biden, you mentioned that Chat GPT, and I remember a few conversations between us when you told me that you actually don't use Chat GPT that much, and you've tried using it for some coding and probably it doesn't work. And what I've noticed is that you're right, one, DeepSeek is much better when it comes to coding. But in terms of Python, ChatGPT is just as good.
Mm-hmm.
For MQL, DeepSeek, most definitely, like ChatGPT is not as good when it comes to MQL.
Yeah.
So anybody who codes with MQL, which I know a lot of people would be using, people who are watching this podcast, I think DeepSeek is a better option as far as MQL is concerned. Python is just as ChatGPT is just as good for Python. But one thing that I wanted to add regarding that question about DeepSeek and that framework or prototype. So this is a whole field. It's called prompt engineering in generative AI, and that's actually a very interesting subject or topic. And a lot of the even corporations are moving in the direction where you have a bot that connects to all the databases, and based on the prompts that you write for the let's say Chat GPT in this case, it searches the data and brings back the data that is required. And actually I can share something from my own corporate experience as well, which is the use of these, they are called AI agents, and all you do is you write long prompts that explain what exactly you want from the chatbot. You can actually give it a persona, a personality as well. It's a very big, very vast field. So the question is very valid, but it's a pretty deep dive into how it actually works. And I know in a couple of previous calls I've been talking about releasing more videos on AI, and my focus has so far been on trading related stuff mostly, like creating EAs. But I think this is also a very interesting field, which is not just applicable in trading, but also across the board, be it your corporate careers or job hunts or whatever. Like it, anytime you want to communicate with the machine, which is going to be the future, the role of prompt engineering is going to be very, very important. How you talk to AI or how you make AI work for you. And maybe if I get some time in the future, I will definitely share whatever knowledge I have on that. So I wanted to add that bit.
Yeah.
Bhajan, one question. Yeah.
No, just a couple of points on what you have said, Vajat, is one, look, and guys, whoever is online right now and asking these questions, the reason for these calls is like, I'm not. I mean, I could be putting, I made 50,000 euros last week. Here's the proof videos. But here, me and Wajahat are talking about the realities of trading, which is trading is probably one of the hardest things. It's not that easy. I mean, it takes a lot of time, understanding, knowing the markets, having the knowledge, and a lot of ideas. Trying, and never giving in. That's what works in the end, not the years. And the second thing which I wanted to say was what Wajahat was touching upon is, and one of the biggest inspiration I had for this channel, and just before this call, me and Wajahat were talking for the last almost 3-4 hours, which is in 4 to 5 years time, we're all gonna be redundant. None of the skills we have today is probably going to be relevant in 5 years. Now you can learn MQL, you can learn EAs, but I don't suppose that MQL will be around in 5 years. I mean, the speed at which the AI is taking over. Not only I was surprised with DeepSeek. I mean, there is Grok. I mean, people are mentioning it in the comment section. There is Grok and there is Cloud, which I haven't even touched. I don't know how they are, but they are supposedly even better. And the speed at which AI is becoming better, I don't know. I mean, if you ask me honestly, I'm a little bit afraid. It's like whatever I have learned in my life, it looks like it's going to become useless in the next 3 to 5 years. And this is what I was saying in the last video as well to Vajat, which is it's like, yeah, we really need to start thinking about what we're going to do in 3 to 5 years, because whatever we know is going to be completely useless. And it's not just trading. I mean, office work, accounting, finance, marketing, brand deals, advertising, movie making. I mean, what apart from maybe like very hard and laborious jobs like buildings, structure, I mean, until humanoids come, and gardening and plumbing and those kind of jobs, every job that requires brain, it's the same thing as people who resisted computers in the 90s. In the 2000s, they were struggling. And this is one of my biggest, I don't know what would be the right word for it, but it makes me sad to see, is we all know that AI is going to take over. We all know it. But honest, hand on heart, how many of us can really say that we are putting in our effort to actually learn and be on the forefront of, no, forget the forefront of AI. How many of us even understand the very basics and let's say mid-ground AI of what is happening and how fast it's going? No, we are all in our own rut of, I'm also the same. Like, yeah, still with the EAs and MQLs and trading portfolios. Like, yeah, my Chinese investors, why would they need me in 3 years? Why? They've got all the money to have the most brilliant AI models. Why would they need me? I mean, that's a question we should all be asking ourselves rather than asking the question of where is the next set file coming from. And that honestly makes me a little bit sad. And this is why, I mean, look, half of my videos, I mean, I try to make them funny. I try to leave a message imprint through it. But the idea is not for me to, it's like, okay, well, here another EA, this week another EA, let's try this. Well, there are Telegram channels for that. A lot of them. For me, even the EA sharing, say if for my next something, either I use one of my own EAs to demonstrate it. Maybe I'll use some other thing which I will find interesting. But the idea is to demonstrate that, look, this is how you can learn something. This is how you should think. This is how you should approach the market. I mean, all these big players, I mean, and look at the level of AI that is freely available to us. Imagine the amount of AI that these big JP Morgans and elites of the world have. I mean, we cannot even imagine the level of AI that they have. So that's the second part. Now, somebody has asked in the comment section my own story of how did I end up with MQL and whatever. Like, I graduated with a finance degree. I've done an MBA in finance. Then I started working for a Danish shipping company by the name Maersk. Moved with them to Denmark, then to France, then to Spain, then a little bit to UK, and then finally to Netherlands. And then they were asking me to move to Shanghai. That's when I left them and joined British American Tobacco in Netherlands. And with them, I went from Netherlands to Belgium, then to Luxembourg for a while, then to Serbia, then to Croatia. And then the COVID hit and I left British American Tobacco, went back to Netherlands where my home is. And then I started working for a Belgian company by the name Ontex for between the period 2000 and 2022 as a regional director looking after Brazil, Mexico, Algeria, Turkey, Pakistan, and Australia. But somewhere in 2014-15, and like most of us, I got introduced to retail trading and then I was hooked. So I started as passion. To keep my own statistics, I started linking my accounts to MQL, where a lot of people started subscribing. Then eventually somebody noticed in Far East Asia, and they wanted to have a discussion about whether or not I would be interested in managing portfolios. I initially didn't want to because I had my own corporate career in my own site. I wanted to become a CEO of a company. But slowly and gradually, they asked me to come to China for a meeting, paid for the entire family. It's like, yeah, fine, it's a vacation. So we all went, and one thing led to another, and I eventually ended up managing a portfolio for one family. Then the word got out from one family to another family to another family, and now it's a consortium of a few families whose funds I have managed for the last 4 years. But that was together with my own corporate career as well, and this is why the need for developing EAs, because I cannot sit in front of the computer and trade all day. And also, if I am trading with certain rules, I can tell the computer to trade on my behalf, so I don't have to. And also it takes out the subjective human element, it takes out emotion, and I only have to look at the charts once in a week. But at some point in time, it became big enough for me to eventually have to decide whether to continue my corporate career or continue this trading journey. So back in 2022, I decided to move to Singapore and fully dedicate myself to portfolio management. Then a few people from Middle East also got interested. So then we ended up with an AUM in IC markets. That's what I manage. That's where my bread and butter comes from, naturally. Wajahat, meanwhile, had been working or trying. He has his own corporate career as well. He has done his master's from National University of Singapore, was working for a Swiss bank in Singapore, was in contact with a lot of data scientists and portfolio stuff. So he started looking at, he was impressed by the amount of machine learning and AI tools that the banks were using. So he started developing something on that front. He has done a few machine learning models, which I use in my portfolio management. But he is going more in the AI direction, which I love, because at least one of us are keeping abreast with, and I'm always looking at him to teach me as well. But I'm a little bit thick-headed, so it's difficult for me to learn from him. But he's also sharing his stuff whenever he can find time, and hopefully we'll start a little bit more as well. But that's our backstory. So it was out of passion and hobby, which became bigger over time. And this is one of the other thing which I always say in the comments and other, like, don't chase EAs or strategies where you think it should make you 30% a month. I would rather take 10 EAs or develop 10-15 EAs which make 1% a month, because then my risk is spread. I'm not dependent on one strategy, one EA. I have a full portfolio where if 4 of them do not make money, the other 6 can compensate, or other 8 can compensate. So the ups and downs are not big. So ups are not big, but then the downs are also not that big. So it squashes the range within which the portfolio can operate. Thirdly, which business on the planet do you know which can make 30% a month on investment? Which one? I mean, all of us will be very happy if we start a business which makes, I don't know, 60% a year. But when it comes to trading, I don't know why people have this fancy expectation that, yeah, I'll start with 500 euros and by the end of the year, I should be swimming in money. Like, where have you seen it? I mean, there are EAs that you can write, grid and martingale based, where it can double your money every 2 months. Yeah, I've seen it. But at the end of the day, the risk is linked with it. Reward is linked with the risk. So if it is making 30% a month, it definitely is going to blow up. I would rather take an EA which makes 3 to 5% a month. In fact, less, 1 to 2% a month is a brilliant EA. And that's another thing. I see a lot of comments about, yeah, that's a very shitty EA because, you know, I've used it for 3 months and it has only made 5%. Like, yeah, that's a good EA. What do you think? What should an EA do? Double your money?
As you're talking about the fact that people don't have the right expectations, the biggest proof of corporate success when it comes to algo trading is Renaissance Technologies, and they made like 67% something like that per annum, which is like roughly even less than 5% if you take into account the compounding effect. So anybody who has the expectation of 300% return is just it's a great strategy. It's gonna work for a few months and then eventually it's gonna blow up.
Yeah, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Yeah, why would the JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachs and the
no, in fact,
banks like that won't.
In the very first or second call that we had with members, I mentioned that if you go, I mean, it's public information. You can go to JP Morgan's website and look at their track record for the last 10 years. I mean, on an average from their trading desk, they make between 50 and 80% a year. JP Morgan makes 50 to 80% a year with the best of the brains, with the best of the AI, and with the best of the technology available to them. Okay, now fine, retail traders have leverage. So you can amplify your results. So 60% for JP Morgan with a 5 times amplification could be 300%. But that's JP Morgan. And with when I was doing the deal in Brazil, I mean, I had a lot of discussion with JP Morgan people as well. I mean, and learned a lot from them on their trading desk. The only word that I hear is risk. And I keep saying the same thing, which is like, yeah, just minimize your losses, money will find you. I see people running after the profits. Like, no, loss. That's it. But that's something which doesn't sell. I mean, you cannot make a YouTube video on loss and have more than 15 views because nobody wants to hear it. I mean, even this video, I mean, I would bet that if this video, probably 3,000 people will watch. But the next video with 5,000 returns a year, yeah, that 40,000 people will watch. And then rush to the store to download. And then, like, yeah, the backtest was amazing because it took 1,000 euros and make it 1.4 billion. Like, yeah, right, that's a backtest. I have made trillions of dollars in backtest. Trillions. I wish I could cash them. I can't. The other part, and I think I saw a comment about it as well, which is every tick and real tick. It's like, I don't know how many times I have to. I've made a video on it as well. Like, both are shit. Neither are correct. And also, I mean, take every tick and go 5 different brokers, every tick, 5 different results. Then take real tick, 5 different broker, 5 different result on real tick as well. So which one? And just because your broker called it real tick, and this is stupid MQL. They didn't used to have real ticks up until 2 years ago. There was nothing that was called real tick. And everybody was fine because they understood that you run a backtest on normal ticks, but those are synthetic ticks. So don't believe it. I mean, you can get an indication out of it, but you cannot believe them. It's like otherwise, I mean, the SAR here, 10,000 to 10 million in 5 months. Really? You're going to believe it? But looking at the backtest, I mean, is it interesting enough to want to give it a try? Yeah, I'll give it a try. And then the real market will tell me. I mean, the real market is going to either slap me saying that this is shit, or the real market will say it's like, yeah, fine, with this one you can probably make 2 to 3% a month, which is going to be an amazing success. But real take, every take, Blama take, Obama take, Michelle Obama take, Biden take, Trump take, yeah, go optimize. Like, yeah, waste your time on backtesting. Nobody has ever made money in backtest. No one has. So I don't know why the obsession with ticks. Like, what's that tick to have ticks? Guys, I know I'm a little bit harsh. Maybe I should.
No, I think Biden,
maybe
I share your frustration. There was this time when you and I were having this discussion. I was saying that maybe at times I was reading your responses and I felt on the YouTube channel that some of the responses were a bit harsh. But now I can understand it's the same question over and over and over again. It's like 5,000 times I've seen it. You've answered it. So God knows how many more times it's gonna be. Eventually, it gets to that.
And it's not, I mean, my frustration is not so much with people for asking the question repeatedly, because look, I mean, it's 1% at a time. But my bigger frustration is with all the shit that people post everywhere, right, left, and center on YouTube, which creates this amazingly false illusion of God knows what. Every other day, I'm seeing. And I mean, I cannot blame others as well. Even my videos are titled, and in the thumbnail they have, 10 million to 100 million. But yeah, I mean, that's my way of getting people in so that I can then tell them that this is not possible. Because otherwise, like, yeah, I mean, fine. I mean, I started the YouTube channel somewhere like 3 years ago, the No Shenanigan one. And I started with like real stuff. And I think I had 200 views was my biggest video. Until one day I decided to go, it's like, okay, 90% is scalping EA, and then all of a sudden 120,000 views. But guys, look, fine. Partly my mistake as well. I'm part of the same group of people who are clickbaiting through thumbnails. But then on the other end, it's like, this is why these calls are there. This is why in every video I try to at least say stuff like, have realistic expectation. I mean, do you know any business where you can turn 500 euros into 5 million? Any business? I mean, I can think of a few, but most of them will be either illegal or the society is really going to look down upon it. But like, morally correct and ethically viable, how many businesses are there which can turn 500 into 5 million? So why would trading be different? It's a business.
It's one. Gambling.
Yeah. And no, that is very true, Sandra. That is extremely true. Which is, yes, there are cases where you would find people who had 1,000 euros on one bet and the gamble worked. But that's, I mean, you have lottery examples as well. But lottery cannot be a general norm. I mean, I cannot go and buy lottery tickets and then 4 days later go to the same shop going, is like, why am I not a millionaire yet? But somehow with trading, general expectation, unfortunately, is like, yeah, I mean, I downloaded this thing and I put 500 euros. Where is my Lambo now? Any other question you see, Vajat?
Yeah, I think there's some questions which probably you've already addressed, so I'm not sure if you want to go over it again, but there are some questions about limitations for HFT and why is it negative in the market, but I think you've touched upon it. You were just testing it.
Yeah. I'll say it again. I have zero clue about HFT. It's a friend who shared it with me. I found it very interesting, so I decided to share it. Maybe my own mistake. Next time I shouldn't share stuff that I find interesting. But then what do I share? Like, yeah, let's shut down the YouTube channel and,
No, but I think some of the stuff that has been shared, like the scalping EA, the Bollinger Band EA, all of that are really good EAs that are really doing really well already in the market. And I think you've already told about the EAs that are in testing phase, and you are testing them. And you've also mentioned that 90% of the EAs that you start coding or you test, some of them work out to actually work well in the forward testing, but many of them don't. So I think I don't know how else you can tell
Yeah.
the same
No, but
information
at least, I
again.
mean, one thing probably I can expand upon, which is, for example, what Jaz was saying is like scalping is doing very well. Yeah, it has been doing very well. And RSI Bollinger is doing extremely well. In my books, it has been doing extremely well because in the last 6 months, it has made a whopping 12% profit. 6 months, 12%. In my books, really successful. Because if I can have 12 different years that can make 10% in 6 months, yeah, that's altogether 120%. That's my way of trying to. I mean, we all want to make 100% a year, but there are different ways. I mean, we can chase after one EA, which is going to make 100%. I prefer to go the route of 12 different EA. I mean, and also the RSI Bollinger, just for people who are listening, and if you're thinking of, because maybe after hearing this amazing story about the whopping 12% that it has made in the last 6 months, if you do decide to rush to the store and download it, do know that it took an amazing number of zero trades in May. Zero. No trade in May at all. In June so far, it has taken 2 trades. Because I also see a lot of people like, yeah, oh, well, I attached the EA to the chart and 4 hours have passed and no trade has opened. Like, guys, what are we expecting? And then the obsession with the win rate. It's like, yeah, but win rate. Yeah, what matters in the end? Profit or win rate? And also, I mean, and this is what I was saying to Wajahat before this call, which is because he was talking about his AI portion and he was talking about, well, I mean, the AI is a much broader subject than just trading, and the channel is trading related. So should we share other type of stuff or not? And my point is, I think we're all looking to find ways to make money. What does it matter whether it comes out of trading, whether it comes out of other AI stuff, whether it comes out of investing, opening up a business? Why limit your thinking to just trading? There are multiple ways of making money.
Because you're right, it's gonna change in the next couple of years. It's not gonna be the same. I mean, if there is even the slightest of anomaly in the market, there will be bots who will be able to act on it much faster. They can already do sentiment analysis. It's only gonna get better. They can already do technical analysis. It's only gonna get better. They can have insider information which we do not have access to, and they will have better speed, like the big corporations, faster servers. So when it comes to trading, even microseconds work matter. And some of the corporations actually look to deploy not just the fastest, but even closer to the trading locations so that they can act faster. And I don't think retail traders like us would have a chance in a couple of years' time. And this is, I think, just do one search on ChatGPT or DeepSeek and ask them about like how retail trading is gonna be shaped by the influence of AI, and you're just gonna know that whatever works today, maybe 5 years from now, will not work.
Yeah. No, I agree with the statement that whatever works today will not work in 5 years. But then there will be new doors which will open
Yeah.
up. There are new avenues which will open up. So the game will stay the same. It will be new rules. It will be new ways of attempting it. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, we used to fight wars with swords, and now there are drones. But the wars are still there. So the method will change, and people who are growing and learning and staying abreast, they will definitely have an edge. Now, the other point which I would add to what Wajad is saying is the fact that it's not just that the big players have insider information and a lot more knowledge and faster technologies and execution, whatever, but also that the game is rigged against the retail traders. Any way you will find that can make money, they will come up with some way to stop it, one way or the other. They will find a way to stop it, because the entire game is lure people in by showing them extreme amount of promises that they can, that like trading will change their lives. And like you see on Instagram all these influencers, well, I was a poor guy and 2 months later, now look at all these Ferraris and all these bitches in the Ferraris. Give those so that you lure people in and then rig the game. The only thing is, in retail trading as well, is still like 5% people can actually make money. But what does it take to become that 5%? Just downloading EAs will make you among those 5% people. If you believe that, then my best wishes are with you. Otherwise, I mean, I cannot say it more clearly. It's like, guys, if it was that easy to be successful, everyone will be successful. We'll all be billionaires. It takes sweat and blood and failures. I don't know how many times I have failed. Numerous, countless times I've completely failed. And even when I decided to leave my career, corporate career, and take a risk, yeah, it was a risk. It's working out fine until now, but honestly, and like I was saying 15 minutes ago, I don't know whether it will continue to work in the next 3 years. But what does it mean? It's like, what it means to me is, yeah, even at the age of 46, I still need to learn as if I was 18. Because now the speed at which the world is changing, yeah, every day is a learning. Learn. I see a lot of comments on YouTube. It's like, I'm not a coder. It's like, yeah, I wasn't also a coder when I was born. Vajat wasn't writing, machine learning programs from my mother's womb. He wasn't.
And it's actually a lot easier now. Like, Baijan, compared to 5 years ago, when you started learning MQL, you would probably search the internet. If there's especially debugging used to be really difficult, but because you had to go and search the entire internet, forums, and to be able to get like difficult stuff coded, you sometimes had to spend days thinking about how I'm going to code this. Now it's actually a lot easier with DeepSeek, with, I think some people shared Grok as well. It doesn't matter which platform you use, but it's a lot easier, because even if you start with the simplest of requests, maybe let's say you don't know MQL, you take the simplest of example. Hey, I want to code something which executes a buy order when 20-day EMA crosses 80-day EMA. It will give you something. You go, you put it in your editor, you try to test it, compile it, run it. Then whatever error you get, you go back and you give it to DeepSeek. It will debug it for you, and then you can gradually start to improve your knowledge. I think compared to 5 years ago, it's way too easy now. Like it's like almost 80-90% automated already, as Baijan made a video on that. So I think now is the best time to start learning these things, because even if you get stuck at a place, you can just go and ask ChatGPT, Grok, DeepSeek that, hey, I'm stuck at this specific line of code and help me debug this problem, which wasn't the case like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, agree. And also, I mean, back when I was growing up, the way to succeed in life was to go to the universities, and you were only competing in life with people who have gone to universities, which were a few, like maybe 10% of the population. Now, it doesn't really matter. It's like all the information is out there. Like the competition is stiffened. Anybody who wants to try can learn and be competitive. So it's much more easier in that sense that the information is readily available, but it's much tougher now, because now the competition is tough. So it's like, I understand partly the dream of, it's like, yeah, I'll find something and I'll put it, and then there will be a constant source of passive income. But that's a dream that's being sold. If it was that easy, I mean, honestly, guys, look, these people are the same people who did the entire financial crisis and took away people's pension funds. Do you think they care about your money? I mean, they stole from the future you because they cannot steal from you. So they went ahead and stole from people's future. Like how cunning that is. Because you wouldn't even notice. It's gone out of your pension funds that people are saving. That's where the money came from. They went and they stole from the future. These are the same people that we are competing with. So it's going to be easy? No. And also, I mean, the entire MQL is like, yeah, go look at the MQL page and try and find an EA which has been there for more than 4 years. You would be extremely hard pressed to find one. Why? Because yeah, it works, but then it doesn't work. The only thing that works is your own hard effort to learn. It's a, and also, I mean, look, even for art, there is competition and stuff. For financial market, can you imagine how tough it must be to succeed in the toughest market on the planet? Because everybody wants that. Everybody wants your dream. Every dream that you have is the same dream a billion other people have. And we're all competing for the same dream. So at the end of the day, who's going to put in the most effort is going to win. So I hope that this gives you something to think about. But from my side, at least, I mean, my channel is not going to give you the promised EAs. No, it's not. All I can offer is what I know, what I can share, and what I have learned in my life. And that's what I'm going to teach my kids as well. That life is going to be tough. And all of you are competing. And this is why I'm very angry would be the wrong word at the new schooling system where everybody is a winner and everybody is like, no, fuck off. Seriously. No, not everybody is a winner. There is a first and there is a second and there is a third and there is a fourth. And this is what we need to teach our kids as well from the very beginning, that life is a competition. Everything you want, there are 1,000 other people who want exactly the same thing. The house you want, 1,000 people want the same house. The car you want, a million other people want the same car. So why should it come to you? The only answer can be because I've worked the hardest. That can be the only answer. And also, I mean, no, just copying something is not going to work. Learn. And I mean, yeah, I think in 5 years' time, I will be able to say it again. It's like, remember I said 5 years ago.
No. I think most probably an AI would be saying, remember Baijan said 5 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary.
Yeah, I think one point, Baijan, that when you and I were talking just before this call, and you mentioned that, and I think it's something which everybody on the call I think would also appreciate, is that just imagine that people like us, we have access to Google Maps through satellites. We have access to chat GPTs for free. Just imagine the kind of stuff that the big corporations or the governments would have, that they have spent God knows how many millions or billions of dollars on. We think that AI is where we see it today. No, that's where AI was 5 years ago. Whatever our perception or image of AI is, these chat GPTs, whatever, most likely the governments and the organizations had that 5 years ago already. And today they have what we will have 5 years from now. So there is at least a 5-year lag. I don't know, like maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, but at the very least, conservatively speaking, there's a 5-year lag. So it doesn't matter how concerned you are about AI, you need to be more concerned. Keeping in mind that whatever you've seen is just one piece of the puzzle. You know 10% of what the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musks, the Donald Trumps of the world know.
Yeah. Then I see there is a question in the, it's like, okay, well, if I mean, because it's all very depressive, which is like, yeah, you cannot turn 500 into 5 million. So how do we do it? Because I mean, I can only speak from my own experience anecdotally, so take it with a grain of salt. In fact, a full bag, 1 kilo bag of salt, which is one is to raise your own funds, but the idea is to uh, consistently do it so that people start to notice it. Because it takes money to make money. My mother used to say it. It takes money to make money. So you're not going to be able to turn 500 into 5 million ever. Never. I mean, if you could, you would have helicopters over your head, and men in black and Japanese would be researching upon you for the next 100 years. So
And by just share your own example, because you also didn't have a lot of capital and you generated that capital from multiple sources, be it your AUM, be it your retail
yeah.
investments, your corporate career.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, share a bit on
No,
that.
I did speak that entire story before as well, so I'm not going to fully repeat it. But I'll take the gist of the story, which is like, yeah, okay, fine. I started sharing my stuff on MQL, and then people started to subscribe to it, and then some people noticed it, and because it was consistent, even though it wasn't 30% a month, it was like 3%, 4% a month, but with very limited amount of risk, because my focus was always on the risk, and that's what some people like. And then eventually I got in touch with some families, and one thing led to another, and then eventually ended up with a portfolio management, which became big. But that's one example. But then on the other hand, on a whim, I thought, okay, well, I want to share what I know with the people generally, because I mean, you hit a certain age after which the teacher in you want to come out and share that stuff and your own legacy. I say it in almost every call, is like, one day I'll die, but these videos will remain, hopefully. And this is me leaving my mark behind in a way. And if I can change one person's perspective, I'll be very happy. But then say this, even this YouTube channel, once it started to become a little bit bigger, 6,000 people, 8,000 people, 10,000 people, there are people who start, I mean, I start receiving emails from, I mean, I was saying to Vajat the other day, like, yeah, there are some guys from Japan, there are some guys from Italy, there are some guys from India, there are some guys from Germany who have started contacting. It's like, look, I mean, what's your setup? I mean, we have a few friends, we have a few families. It's one, of course, I mean, there is no replacement for it. You have to have the correct amount of knowledge and the experience, and it takes time to build. I mean, Rome wasn't built in one day. I mean, when you want to become a doctor, can you download a degree of doctor? Well, I think you can, but can you really become a doctor in one day by just downloading an EA? Can you become an engineer in one day by downloading a code? Why is this expectation that you can become an amazing, earth-shattering, next Elon Musk, next Warren Buffett, by watching 3 YouTube videos, and not even that fully? Like, okay, I watched 3 minutes and I now have a set file, and now Warren Buffett, here I come. So even the YouTube, it has started opening up so many different avenues. I mean, I have now a members forum where are a few people there that we want to collaborate. I have a YouTube channel and then a store where people can find my contact, and I'm contacted almost on, if not on a daily basis, but at least on a weekly basis, or at least 2 or 3 emails on a weekly basis, where there are more people who want to collaborate. Even now I do have funds of my own, but I'm not gonna trade with my own funds ever. Even though I have myself 5 years experience of managing somebody else's portfolio. But when it comes to managing your own portfolio, all the emotions come out. It's like, yeah, well, it's my own money. I can't handle it like that. It's easier to manage other people's fund. But then if you manage it consistently well enough, and all of these families and all of these people who are good, serious people, none of them have ever asked me the question of what's your average profit. It's always about how do you manage your risk? How do you manage your risk? But my point is, once you put yourself out there and you put in the effort, I mean, the amount of doors that start to open up are just limitless. I wouldn't have thought 2 years ago that this YouTube is going to lead to. And I mean, I'm not a big channel either. It's like, what, 8,000 people? That's tiny, peanuts. But I'm sure that if I continue to post what I'm posting and share what I'm sharing, it probably will hit 50,000, 100,000, who knows? I'll not give in.
And I think, Baijan, you forgot to mention how you've also made a lot of money from real estate. We are trying to, Baijan and I, even though we're doing very well, but still we're trying to set up a consulting business because we see an opportunity. And all of this because why limit yourself to maybe one thing? Why limit yourself? No, I want to become a billionaire with what Baijan is saying, $300. Yeah, you need money to make money, and any avenue from where you can make money, never say no to that avenue. So it's not just about limiting yourself to one source that, hey, I've downloaded this EA and I'm gonna just use this EA to turn $100 into $1,000, because we've already discussed on the call, there are realistic expectations. Even if you compare it with the best in the world, it's like 50, 60, 70% per annum. That's the best you can do. And you cannot convert $300 into $1 million with 50, 60% return, not in the shortest span of time.
Yeah. And also, again, we touched upon it during the call before as well, which is like, look, I mean, we are all looking for financial success, but why limit ourselves to one? Like, and also the fact is like, okay, well, yeah, I want this EA, I download this EA, and well, it doesn't make me 100% in 5 months, so this is a bad EA, so let's download another EA, and then another EA, and then another EA, and then another EA. Like, yeah, that's a carrot that you're never gonna get. It's a carrot that's always gonna hang in front. So yeah, I mean, and this is where me and Vajat, we have discussions like 4 hours, 5 hours every week whenever we have time. Our calls end up 4, 5 hours there. And this is, and that's another thing which unfortunately in this new world, especially in the West, is sad actually, that people do not have other people. Everybody is very alone in their own efforts. I'm very thankful for the fact that I have a brother where we're always looking to find new ways, we're always discussing new ideas, we're always looking, we're never content. I mean, today we have 4 different businesses, but we're still looking to open a 5th one, and then a 6th one, and then he was talking about this generative AI, which I didn't fully understand, but it's about personality. I mean, guys, can you mute yourself because the voice is reverberating? And that's a new field upcoming.
I think it is possible for you to mute it.
Yeah. So there is a new field upcoming, and Vajad was talking about like, okay, well, that's a new opportunity which is gonna come up in the market. I mean, yeah, let's be on the forefront of it. But that's the way you go about it. I mean, you think money, you discuss money, you're always on the lookout for a next realistic opportunity. You learn new stuff. I mean, I know zero about AI apart from I have used it myself. But I would be very ashamed of myself if in the next 2 years I do not understand AI properly. So my next 2 years are probably going to be spent learning everything that there is to learn about AI, and not just the usage of it. It's like, okay, how can I use ChatGPT and how I can use DeepSeek? No. How does it actually work? And how can I use it to my benefit? But this is what I can share as well, which is I was telling Vajaz, like, look, I mean, not only that you need to start making a few more videos on how AI can influence trading and your machine learning models, maybe we set up another channel where we generally share stuff about AI, which is what's coming, what's happening, and how can you use it to your best advantage to be on the forefront. Because you want to be on the forefront if you really want to make something out of your life. And guys, I mean, just, I don't know, I mean, I don't want to put too much on my own path, but both me and Vajad, we come from an extremely humble background. I mean, our starting was where we didn't have 2 meals to eat in a day when we were younger. But my mother had just one single aim, is that my kids are gonna have the best education that I can give them, and that's the only way to get out of these slums. And 40 years later, I think if she were alive, she would be proud that her dream came true after 40 years. I don't suppose that she could have downloaded an EA and make her dream come true. No. I mean, Vajat went to National University of Singapore and then Yale. I mean, I don't think even my mother had that level of dream. And he definitely surpassed it. But it's years and years and decades of effort, untiring effort. So that's what we hope to inspire, because look, I want my kids to do extremely well. And with the amount of junk that I see on the internet, I hope that some of these words can maybe inspire some young and upcoming. And why young and upcoming? I mean, every age. To learn and do better tomorrow. But it's not going to be a small journey. But then again, to quote my own mother on it, because I quote her a lot, which is, no matter how long and winding the road is, it is still under your feet. You need to walk. The road is not going to walk.
And it also reminds me, Baijan, of my